Welcome to EasyDeploy YouTube channel. Today we are going to see how to create 3-tier VPC in AWS. What is covered in this video? We will be seeing what is VPC, creating VPC, creating 2 public subnets on web tier, creating 2 private subnets on application tier, creating 2 private subnets on data tier, prerequisites, AWS account, basic knowledge about AWS VPC, AWS account with VPC full access. What is VPC? A virtual private cloud is a service that allows its user to create an isolated virtual environment, as well as it is protected. We can specify an IP address range for the VPC, add subnets, add gateways, and associate security groups. A subnet is a range of IP addresses in your VPC. VPC customers can run code, store data, host websites, and do anything else they could do in an ordinary private cloud, but the private cloud is hosted remotely by a public cloud provider. 3-tier VPC flow diagram. How to create VPC. First, log into the AWS console. Search for VPC. Click Create VPC. Select VPC and More. In VPC and More, we can choose how many availability zones we needed, and we can also select how many public subnets, private subnets we needed. If needed, we can choose S3 Gateway as VPC endpoint. Now create VPC. Click Create VPC. Select VPC and More. Tick Auto-Generate to automatically fill the public and private subnet names. Now we should give a name to our VPC. Route table, Internet Gateway, NAT Gateway, and S3 Gateway are automatically created. We can give how many availability zones we needed. We can also select how many public and private subnets we needed. We should choose a minimum 1 NAT gateway for outbound internet access to private subnets. We can select S3 Gateway if needed. Click Create VPC. Wait for VPC to be created. After creating VPC, click View VPC. Creating 2 public subnets on web tier. While creating VPC, we added 2 public subnets. These 2 public subnets will act as an web tier for VPC. Host resources accessible from the internet. For example, load balancer or API gateway. These 2 public subnets acts as an web tier. These 2 public subnets has 1 route table which is connected to Internet Gateway. Creating 2 private subnets on application tier. While creating VPC, we have created 4 private subnets. 2 private subnets will act as an application tier. Application tier can also delete, modify, and add the data in data tier. Application that will perform tasks as requested by the client will be hosted in this application tier. For example, rendering a PHP or Node.js script. In these 4 private subnets, 2 subnets will act as an application tier. Each private subnets have separate route tables which is connected to NAT Gateway and S3 Gateway. Creating 2 private subnets on data tier. 2 private subnets will act as in data tier. The data tier stores and manages data processed by application tier. Some common technologies and concepts associated with the data tier includes relational databases such as MySQL database or DynamoDB. In these 4 route table, 2 route table will act as in data tier. These 2 private subnets have separate route tables which are connected to NAT Gateway and S3 Gateway. Conclusion. We have seen what is VPC, how to create VPC, how to create 2 public subnets on web tier, how to create 2 private subnets on application tier, how to create 2 private subnets on data tier. These 3 tier together work as in 3-tier architecture on VPC.